Hey, what is up guys, Woo here, and today we are going to do the final and last part of this series I've had on my channel since it started, which is, what if Midoriya had his parents' quirk, part 3. Keep in mind, for my version of the story, I've given Midoriya all the best possible scenarios, meaning he does have one for all. But if you want to know how he got that, be sure to check out part 2. But let's talk about his parents' quirks. His father's quirk was the ability to breathe fire from his mouth, and his mom's ability was to levitate small objects towards her. Also for the series, I gave these quirks their own weaknesses, which were that if Midoriya uses his father's fire breath too often, he'll burn his throat, and if he levitates objects that are too big or does a lot of levitating at once, he'll get a massive headache and he won't be able to focus and he'll just fall apart. Now that we have that, let's begin with the recap since it's been a while. Todoroki doesn't use his fire side, since during the fight with Midoriya during the sports festival, Midoriya actually won because he activated One for All for the first time in this fight and put Todoroki out of bounds using his fire breath. So the whole hero world is in confusion, realizing that Midoriya is the first person in the hero world that they know of that has 3 quirks. Midoriya places second though in the sports festival and is beaten by Bakugo. Ida's brother is still beaten by Stain in the hospital and all that good stuff and whatnot. And that's pretty much all you guys need to know from part 2. And with that, let's begin with part 3. A few days have passed since the sports festival, and all of Class 1A decides to come up with hero names after the sports festival. All these names stay the same as the anime, but what differs here is that Midoriya actually has the most people after him, since he is the world's first known 3 quirk user. Every agency is after Midoriya and wants him to intern with their agencies. Shortly after class is over, All Might pulls Midoriya to the side and tells him about the offer that Gran Torino has, and after hearing this, Midoriya decides to go under Gran Torino for the week, and everybody else picks their hero agency. Most of these hero agencies stay the same, again, except for Todoroki. He does not pick his father's agency since Midoriya didn't make him use his fire side. Todoroki is still against it and still has his hatred for his father. And since Ida's brother is still in the hospital thanks to Stain, Ida decides to go to an internship that is in Hosu City. And with that, the internships begin. Midoriya arrives at Gran Torino's place, excited to train under him. And after sparring with and losing to Gran Torino tells Midoriya to use One for All more often since he's still relying on his other quirks too much. And that One for All isn't as special as he thinks it is. It's also an enhancement quirk, so it can also make his ability stronger if he masters One for All. Midoriya decides to think about it more, and the events play the same as the anime. He comes up with full cowl, or full cowling depending on if you watch the dub or the sub. A few days later, when Gran Torino and Midoriya head to the city to fight crime, a Nomu crashes into the train, and Gran Torino goes after the Nomu. When Midoriya realizes that he's in Hosu City, he begins to panic, because he knows Ida is somewhere in the city, and with that, he begins to try to find Ida. Meanwhile, with Ida, he had found Stain and went after him. He tries to fight him, but Ida can't beat him and is pinned down and beaten. Before Ida gets defeated by Stain, Midoriya comes out of nowhere and saves him. Ida tells Midoriya that it's none of his business to be here and that he needs to leave so he can fight Stain alone. Midoriya snaps at Ida, telling him that he's stupid for doing this and that he should have called for backup first. Midoriya sees that there is a hero pinned down next to Ida, so he realizes he cannot save both of them at the same time. And with that, he hesitantly smiles and tells Ida that a hero cannot just simply run away when someone is in need of saving. And while he is saying that, he is sending a GPS location to all of Class 1A just in case that someone is able to get there in time to help him. After hearing Midoriya's heroic speech, Stain smiles back, being happy that there is one true hero here, which would be Midoriya. Then, Stain and Midoriya charge at each other with full force. Midoriya uses his father's quirk to breathe fire and try to burn Stain, and also gets some distance. After using One for All full cowling and his mom's quirk to bring objects closer to him to throw, this happens for a while. After this does, Midoriya's throat starts to hurt, and he realizes that he's using his quirk too much, so he decides to only use One for All because he doesn't want to risk getting a headache from his mom's quirk. So Midoriya attempts to use a 5% Detroit Smash to take down Stain, but it doesn't work, and Stain finally cuts Midoriya and licks his blood. After Midoriya is pinned down, he can't move, and Stain compliments Midoriya, telling him that he had done a good job and will spare his life since he upholds the ideals of a true hero. And with that, Stain strikes Ida, killing him. Now I know what you guys are thinking. How could you let Ida die? Where's Todoroki? Keep in mind, Todoroki does not go to his father's agency in my version of the story, and since he doesn't, he isn't at the Hosu incident, so he's not there. No one else was near Hosu when Midoriya sent out the text alert, so Midoriya was the only hope for Ida to live. Now that I've explained myself, let's get back to the story. Midoriya, terrified, shocked, and furious, yells at Stain, asking him why he did what he did and killed Ida. Stain explains how he was too filled with vengeance and didn't even bother to save the pro hero that was right in front of him. Midoriya yells back, saying that it was not his choice to decide who lives and dies. He is not God. Stain starts to ignore Midoriya's words and kills the other pro hero, and when he does, he leaves. Midoriya, finally able to move, sits up and just starts crying, yelling, and calling out for help. Eventually, pros arrive when patrolling the area and sees the dead hero, Ida, and a crying Midoriya. The pros take out the rest of the Nomu in the city, and after that, the Hosu incident is over. Midoriya is in the hospital, and they're checking up on his throat and his arm since it had been cut by Stain. But all Midoriya can think about is Ida and how he wishes he was stronger so that Ida's death could have been avoided. Days go on, and Midoriya goes back to school. Everyone sits there quiet, speechless, knowing that Midoriya was there when Ida died, and that they weren't able to help. Midoriya is pulled out of class by All Might, and they have a conversation about Ida and Midoriya's regret. All Might yells at him, telling him to snap out of it, and while he understands that Midoriya lost one of his best friends, he cannot slow down. He needs to get stronger because time waits for no one. Midoriya looks up at All Might, nods his head, and then All Might tells him the story of All for One and the quirk, One for All. Midoriya goes back to class after hearing the story, ready for whatever happens next. And that is it for this video, guys. It's pretty much over. Now, if you guys are wondering why I decided to end this series here, to put it simply, the best way I can explain it is that he has One for All, so the rest of the story pretty much plays the same. This is the story of how he became the world's greatest hero. Now, I know you guys are saying, but Ida's dead. Wouldn't that play a significant part in the story? The only real significance it would play is Season 3 spoilers here. Aoyama would probably fail the provisional license exam. Now, I know what you guys are saying. That is kind of important because it's one of the main characters losing their chance at the provisional license exam, but keep in mind there's that 3-month course, and Aoyama could easily just go back and get his hero license that way. So that's pretty much it for this video, guys. Pretty short, simple, sweet. Yeah, everything else would play pretty much the exact same. I decided to make this final part and end it here before it felt dragged on. So if you guys enjoyed, be sure to like, share, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.